Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that is often overlooked in the world of survival. The single most powerful tool you possess. No, it's not that brand new multi-tool, that fancy fire starter, or even that military-grade backpack. The most critical survival tool you have is right between your ears, your brain. We often see survival portrayed as a gritty, physical battle against the elements, a test of strength and endurance. And while physical fitness is absolutely important, it's only one piece of the puzzle. The real foundation of survival, the skill that underpins every other, is mental. It's about thinking before you act, observing before you move, and planning before you panic. It's a game of wits, not just a test of brawn. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's explore why your mind is the ultimate survival gadget. So what exactly do we mean when we say survival is a mental process? Imagine you're suddenly lost in the wilderness. Your first instinct might be to panic, to run, to do something, anything. But this is where the mental game begins. The trained survivalist's first action is inaction. It's to stop, think, assess, and plan. This is the core principle. Your brain must lead and your body will follow. Survival isn't about having the strongest muscles to chop wood. It's about having the sharpest mind to know which wood to chop, when to chop it, and how to do it efficiently. It's about resource management, not just of your gear, but of your own energy, your morale, and your time. A person with all the gear in the world but no mental clarity is far worse off than someone with nothing but a well-ordered mind. They can improvise, adapt, and overcome because they're not just reacting to the environment. They're actively engaging with it on a cognitive level. Let's break this down further into three key mental abilities: observation, memory, and anticipation. First, observation. This is more than just looking around. It's about actively seeing. It's noticing the subtle bend in the grass that indicates a game trail. It's paying attention to the direction the clouds are moving to predict weather changes. It's identifying which plants are abundant in the area that could potentially be a resource. Sharp observation skills gather critical data from your surroundings, turning a chaotic landscape into a map of opportunities and threats. Without this data, you're flying blind. Next, we have memory. Your memory is your internal database. It's where you store the knowledge you've learned from books, videos like this one, and past experiences. When you observe a certain type of cloud, your memory recalls that it often precedes a thunderstorm. When you see a specific plant, your memory helps you identify it as either edible, medicinal, or poisonous. It's not just about recalling facts. It's also about remembering your own actions. Where did you leave your water bottle? Which direction did you come from? A reliable memory prevents you from making costly mistakes and repeating errors, saving you precious time and energy. Finally, there's anticipation. This is where you combine observation and memory to predict what's going to happen next. It's the highest level of survival thinking. By observing the setting sun and remembering that temperatures drop sharply at night, you anticipate the need for shelter and fire *, before * you're shivering in the dark. By noticing the animal tracks and anticipating their return path, you can either avoid a dangerous encounter or set up a successful trap. Anticipation allows you to be proactive instead of reactive. It's the difference between building a shelter in a calm afternoon and scrambling to build one in the middle of a downpour. It's about staying one step ahead of the situation, and in survival, being one step ahead can mean everything. These three skills, observation, memory, and anticipation, work together in a continuous loop, constantly feeding you the information you need to make smart, life-saving decisions. Now let's talk about a powerful cognitive tool that ties all of this together: pattern recognition. Nature, for all its apparent chaos, is full of patterns. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Water always flows downhill. Certain plants grow in specific types of soil. Animals have predictable daily routines. The ability to recognize these patterns is a fundamental survival instinct that we humans have honed over millennia. When you can see the patterns, you can understand the system you're in. For instance, recognizing the pattern of vegetation can lead you to water. A line of lush green trees in an otherwise dry landscape is a massive signpost pointing to a stream or riverbed. Think about weather patterns. The old sailors saying, "Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky in morning, sailor's warning," is a perfect example of pattern recognition passed down through generations. It's a simple observation linked to a predictable outcome. Learning to read the patterns in the clouds, the wind, and the behavior of animals can give you a surprisingly accurate weather forecast. Recognizing animal patterns is just as vital. Where do they go for water? What time of day are they most active? Understanding these patterns helps you find food and avoid becoming food. It's a deep, intuitive understanding of the rhythm of the natural world. This isn't some mystical power. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed and sharpened with practice. The more time you spend in nature actively looking for these connections, the more the world will start to make sense, transforming from a frightening wilderness into a landscape rich with information. So how do we get so good at this? The answer lies in our evolution. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers. Their very existence depended on making complex decisions every single day. Their supermarket was the wilderness, and their survival guide was the knowledge passed down and the patterns they observed. This constant pressure forged our brains into incredible decision-making machines. Think about an early human deciding whether to hunt a large animal. They had to weigh the potential reward, a huge amount of food, against the incredible risk of injury or death. This wasn't a simple calculation. It involved observing the animal's condition, remembering past hunts, assessing the terrain, considering the skill of the hunting party, and anticipating the animal's reaction. This process of risk-reward analysis is hardwired into us. In a modern survival situation, the same logic applies. Should I drink this murky water? The risk is getting sick, but the reward is staving off dehydration. The decision-making process kicks in. You observe the water. Is it stagnant or flowing? You remember that flowing water is generally safer, and that boiling it will kill pathogens. You anticipate that finding a cleaner source might take too much time and energy. Based on this, you make a calculated decision. You'll collect the water and make a fire to boil it. Every choice is a trade-off. Do I expend energy to build a better shelter, or do I conserve that energy and risk a colder night? Do I eat these unknown berries, or do I risk hunger? The ability to quickly and effectively navigate these complex decisions is a direct legacy of our evolutionary past. Our brains are not just wired for survival, they were sculpted by it. In a world filled with high-tech gear and endless survival gadgets, it's easy to forget that the most powerful asset we have is our own mind. Your ability to stop, think, observe, and plan is what will truly keep you alive. Tools are just extensions of your will. They are useless without the knowledge and foresight to use them correctly. A knife is just a piece of metal until a thinking mind decides to use it to make feather sticks for a fire or carve a trap trigger. A compass is just a magnetized needle until a thinking mind uses it to plot a course and navigate to safety. So, while you practice your physical skills, building fires, tying knots, and purifying water, don't forget to train your brain. Spend time in nature just observing. Sit by a stream and watch the flow of the water and the life around it. Practice identifying trees and plants. Pay attention to the weather. Play mental games. Ask yourself, if I were stuck here right now, what would be my first 3 moves? What are the immediate threats? What are the available resources? Challenge yourself to think through scenarios. This mental training is just as important, if not more so, than physical practice. It builds the cognitive muscles you need to stay calm, focused, and effective when it matters most. Because when everything else fails, when your gear is lost or broken, your mind is the one tool that can never be taken away from you. It is, and always will be, your first and most important survival skill. Have you ever wondered what truly sets us apart from every other creature on this planet? It's not just our big brains or our opposable thumbs. A huge part of our story, perhaps the most crucial chapter, was written in flames. Today we read diving deep into the history of humanity to explore how mastering fire wasn't just about getting warm, it was about becoming human. Think about it. Before fire, our ancestors were at the mercy of the elements. Life was a constant struggle for survival, dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. But then, something incredible happened. We learned to control fire. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a revolution. Suddenly, we could push back the darkness, extend our day, and create a safe haven in a world full of predators. A crackling fire became the first true home, a beacon of safety in the vast wild night. This mastery over a fundamental force of nature was the single greatest turning point in our evolutionary journey. It's the moment we stopped just surviving and started thriving. It changed where we could live, what we could eat, and even how we thought. Fire gave us the power to reshape our environment and, in doing so, reshape ourselves. It's a story of innovation, courage, and the spark that ignited the future of an entire species. So how exactly did cooking change the game for us? Before fire, our ancestors spent a huge portion of their day just chewing. Raw food, especially tough meat and fibrous plants, is incredibly hard to digest. Our bodies had to work overtime, spending massive amounts of energy just to break down a meal. Imagine having a digestive system more like a cow's, constantly processing tough material. That was the reality. Then came the barbecue. By cooking our food, we essentially started the digestion process outside our bodies. Heat breaks down complex proteins and starches, making them much easier for our stomachs to handle. This unlocked a treasure trove of nutrients that were previously inaccessible. Suddenly, the same piece of meat or the same root vegetable provided way more energy, way more efficiently. This energy surplus was a game changer. Instead of all that power going to our gut, it could be redirected elsewhere. Where did it go? Scientists believe it went straight to our heads. This new, high-energy diet fueled the rapid expansion of the human brain. Our brains are incredibly energy-hungry organs, and cooking provided the high-octane fuel they needed to grow larger and more complex. So the next time you fire up the grill, remember you're participating in an ancient tradition that literally made us smarter. Cooking didn't just fill our stomachs. It fed our minds and powered our evolution. Beyond just making food more nutritious, fire solved another massive problem for our ancestors: the constant boom and bust of food availability. As hunters and gatherers, life was a cycle of feast or famine. A successful hunt might mean more meat than the group could eat before it spoiled. A bad season could mean weeks of scarcity. There was no way to save for a rainy day. Fire changed all that. With techniques like smoking and drying, early humans could preserve food for long periods. That surplus from a big kill could now be stored, creating a buffer against hard times. This was the world's first pantry. It provided a level of food security never before experienced. No longer was every day a desperate search for the next meal. This stability had profound social consequences. With a reliable food source, groups could stay in one place longer. More importantly, it fostered a culture of sharing and cooperation. A preserved stash of food was a community resource, managed and distributed for the good of the group. It strengthened social bonds and laid the groundwork for more complex societies. This ability to plan for the future, to save and to share, was a monumental leap forward. It taught us foresight, responsibility, and the fundamental lesson that we are stronger together. Fire didn't just preserve our food. It helped preserve our communities. But the impact of fire goes far beyond the practicalities of warmth and food. It reached deep into our psyche, fundamentally changing how we interacted with the world and with each other. Before fire, night was a terrifying time. The darkness was filled with predators and unseen dangers. Our ancestors were vulnerable, huddled together in fear. A campfire transformed the night from a source of terror into a time of community and security. The circle of light created a safe zone, a psychological fortress against the chaos of the wild. Predators that hunted in the dark were kept at bay by the flickering flames. For the first time, humans had a reliable defense that allowed them to relax, to lower their guard. This newfound safety around the fire created a unique social space. The day's work of hunting and gathering was done. People could gather, and in the warmth of the flames, they could do something revolutionary. They could talk. The campfire became the first living room, the first theater, the first classroom. It was here that stories were told, knowledge was passed down from one generation to the next, and social bonds were forged. The shared experience of sitting around a fire, sharing food and stories, is a deeply ingrained part of who we are. It's where culture was born. Fire didn't just protect our bodies. It nurtured our minds and gave birth to society itself. So, from igniting our intelligence through cooked food to forging our societies around the warmth of the hearth, fire is woven into the very fabric of our existence. It's the unsung hero of the human story. It allowed us to conquer the cold, defeat the darkness, and unlock the full potential of our minds. It turned us from just another primate into the planet's dominant species. Every time we light a candle, gather around a bonfire with friends, or cook a meal for our families, we are connecting with that ancient legacy. We are tapping into a primal force that has shaped us for hundreds of thousands of years. The story of fire is the story of us, our ingenuity, our resilience, and our ability to come together to build a brighter world. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the smallest spark can lead to the greatest change. Have you ever wondered how humans, a species that evolved in the warm savannas of Africa, managed to conquer every corner of this planet? From the blistering heat of the Sahara to the bone-chilling cold of the Arctic, we didn't just survive. We thrived. This isn't a story of biological evolution alone. It's a story of ingenuity, innovation, and our incredible ability to adapt. It's the story of how we created our own environments through shelter and clothing. Think about it. We don't have thick fur, sharp claws, or natural camouflage. Biologically, we're quite vulnerable, but what we do have is a remarkable brain. This brain allowed our earliest ancestors to look at their surroundings not just as a landscape, but as a resource. A cave wasn't just a hole in a rock. It was a shield from the wind and rain, a fortress against predators. A pile of branches and leaves wasn't just debris. It was the raw material for a primitive hut, the first step towards architecture. These early shelters were masterpieces of environmental adaptation. In hot, arid regions, people built homes from mud and clay, materials that absorb the sun's heat during the day and release it slowly at night, keeping interiors cool when it's scorching outside and warm when the temperature drops. Think of the incredible adobe structures of the American Southwest or the earth houses of North Africa. These weren't just random constructions. They were sophisticated climate control systems built with local materials. In heavily forested areas, wood was the obvious choice. From simple lean-tos to complex longhouses, our ancestors used timber to create sturdy, insulated homes. In the Arctic, where trees are scarce, the Inuit performed a feat of engineering that seems almost magical. They learned to cut blocks of compacted snow and build igloos. Snow, a material we associate with cold, is actually a fantastic insulator because it's full of trapped air. Inside an igloo, the temperature can be up to 20 degrees Celsius, or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, warmer than the freezing air outside, using only body heat and a small lamp. This ability to manipulate our immediate environment was a game changer. It allowed us to stay in one place longer, to form larger communities, and to develop more complex societies. But shelter was only half the equation. To venture out, to hunt, to gather, to explore, we needed a portable environment. We needed clothing. Clothing is one of humanity's oldest and most important technologies. It's easy to take for granted today, but for our ancestors it was the key to survival. The first clothes were likely simple drapes of animal hides, used for warmth and protection. But soon we innovated. We developed tools like bone needles, which have been found dating back tens of thousands of years. With these, we could stitch hides together, creating fitted garments that were far more effective at trapping body heat. This was a technological revolution. Suddenly we had a personal, portable shelter. We could regulate our body temperature, protecting ourselves from hypothermia in the cold and sunstroke in the heat. In hot climates, loose-fitting garments made from plant fibers, like linen in ancient Egypt, allowed for air circulation and protected the skin from the relentless sun. The iconic white robes worn in many desert cultures are a perfect example of this. They reflect sunlight and allow breezes to cool the body. In colder regions, the strategy was layering. Multiple layers of animal furs and treated skins created pockets of trapped air, a superb insulator. The Sami people of northern Scandinavia, for instance, developed sophisticated clothing from reindeer hides, with the fur turned inwards for maximum warmth. They even created boots stuffed with sedge grass for insulation, keeping their feet warm and dry in sub-zero temperatures. This wasn't just fashion. It was a meticulously engineered survival system. The development of weaving, around 10,000 years ago, took clothing technology to a whole new level. We could now create textiles from wool, cotton, and flax. We could design fabrics with different properties, some for warmth, some for breathability, some for water resistance. This versatility in clothing allowed us to fine-tune our response to any climate we encountered. Armed with the twin technologies of shelter and clothing, humans were no longer bound by their biological limits. We were ready to take on the world. The great human expansion out of Africa wasn't just a walk in the park. It was a journey across continents with vastly different and often hostile climates. Imagine the first groups of humans migrating north into Europe and Asia during the Ice Age. They were moving from a familiar warm environment into a world of glaciers, tundra, and brutal winters. Without effective shelters and multi-layered, windproof clothing, this journey would have been impossible. They followed the herds of mammoth, bison, and reindeer, using every part of the animal not just for food, but for the tools, clothing, and shelter they needed to survive. Their success is a testament to their incredible adaptability. Then, there was the journey across the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas. This was an epic trek across a frigid, windswept landscape. The ancestors of Native Americans had to be master survivalists, equipped with the knowledge to build shelters and craft clothing that could withstand the harshest Arctic conditions. Once in the Americas, they spread out, adapting their techniques to every imaginable environment, from the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest to the high-altitude Andes and the humid Amazon basin. Even settling the vast, arid continent of Australia required unique innovations. The indigenous peoples of Australia developed shelters and living strategies perfectly suited to a cycle of droughts, floods, and extreme heat. They possessed a deep understanding of their environment that allowed them to live sustainably for tens of thousands of years. What this incredible story tells us is that our greatest strength isn't physical prowess, but our intellect and creativity. We are the species that reshapes our world. When faced with an impossible environment, we don't just endure it. We innovate. We build, we sew, we weave, and we create a small pocket of home, a microenvironment that we can carry with us wherever we go. From the first skin draped over the shoulders to the high-tech, breathable fabrics of today's mountaineering gear, clothing and shelter are the unsung heroes of the human story. They are the technologies that broke the chains of our African cradle and allowed us to put our footsteps on every continent on Earth. It is a powerful reminder that our ability to solve problems and adapt is our ultimate survival tool. Ever wondered what the ultimate survival skill is? Is it building a fire from scratch? Hunting with a handmade spear? Or maybe it's just pure brute strength? We often picture the lone wolf, the rugged individualist battling the elements. But what if I told you that our greatest survival tool, the one that propelled humanity to the top of the food chain, is something we often take for granted? It's cooperation. Think about it. Early humans weren't the strongest, fastest, or biggest creatures on the savannah. We didn't have razor-sharp claws or impenetrable hides. So, how do we not only survive but thrive? We work together. A single human facing a saber-toothed tiger is a snack. But a group of humans armed with spears, a plan, and coordinated action? That's a formidable hunting party. This is the power of the group over the individual. Our ancestors understood that safety and success came in numbers. They formed bands, shared resources, and defended each other against predators and rival groups. This collective strength was our secret weapon, allowing us to take on challenges that would have been impossible alone. Now, let's look at one of the most brilliant outcomes of cooperation: the division of labor. Imagine trying to do everything yourself in a prehistoric tribe. You'd have to hunt, gather plants, find water, build shelter, make tools, and watch for predators all at the same time. You'd be exhausted, inefficient, and likely wouldn't last very long. But when a group divides these tasks, something magical happens. One person, who's a skilled flint knapper, can focus on making excellent tools for everyone. Another, with a keen eye for plants, can gather the most nutritious berries and roots. The strongest and bravest can form a hunting team, bringing back protein for the entire group. This specialization doesn't just make things easier. It makes the entire group more productive and resilient. Each person contributes their unique skill, and everyone benefits from the collective output. This simple concept is the foundation of every complex society and economy we see today. From a small village to a global metropolis, the division of labor allows for incredible advancements and a higher quality of life for all. It's cooperation in action on a massive scale, but how do these specialized skills get passed on? This brings us to another pillar of cooperative survival: teaching and shared knowledge. Unlike many animals that rely purely on instinct, humans have the remarkable ability to learn from one another and build upon a collective pool of wisdom. When one person discovered that a certain type of wood was best for making bows, they didn't keep it a secret. They taught others. When a new, more effective hunting technique was developed, it was shared with the group. This passing of knowledge from one generation to the next is what we call culture. It's like a shared external hard drive for our species. It means we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. A child born today inherits thousands of years of accumulated knowledge about medicine, engineering, agriculture, and art. This cumulative culture is only possible through the cooperative acts of teaching, learning, and sharing information freely. Our ability to stand on the shoulders of giants is a direct result of our ancestors' willingness to cooperate and educate each other for the good of the tribe. So we have group defense, division of labor, and shared knowledge. But what's the emotional glue that holds all of this together? What motivates us to help someone else, even when there's no immediate direct benefit to ourselves? The answer is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. It's a powerful evolutionary advantage. When we see someone in our group who is hurt, hungry, or sad, empathy prompts us to act. We offer them food, tend to their wounds, or provide comfort. From a cold, purely individualistic perspective, this might seem inefficient. Why share your food with someone who can't hunt today? But from a group survival perspective, it's brilliant. The person you help today might be the one who saves your life tomorrow. Caring for the sick and injured ensures that valuable members of the group, with all their skills and knowledge, can recover and contribute again. Empathy builds trust and strengthens social bonds, making the group more cohesive and resilient in the face of hardship. It transforms a collection of individuals into a true community, a family. This emotional connection is the very heart of cooperation. In our modern world of hyper-individualism, it's easy to forget these fundamental lessons. We're often encouraged to compete, to climb the ladder, to look out for number one. We celebrate the self-made billionaire and the lone genius. But we forget that no one achieves anything truly great alone. Every successful individual stands on a foundation built by the cooperation of others' teachers, family, colleagues, and society as a whole. The challenges we face today, from global pandemics to climate change, are far too big for any one person or even one nation to solve alone. They demand unprecedented levels of global cooperation. Just like our ancestors facing a saber-toothed tiger, we need to work together, share our knowledge, and have empathy for one another if we're going to thrive. The survival skill we seem to be forgetting is the very one that made us human in the first place. So the next time you have the chance to collaborate, to teach someone something, or to simply offer a helping hand, remember you're not just being nice. You're tapping into humanity's oldest and most powerful survival strategy. What does it mean to survive? We often think of it in physical terms, finding food, water, shelter. But what about the survival of the mind, the spirit, the very essence of who we are? When our ancestors stared into the darkness, they weren't just fighting off predators. They were battling fear, uncertainty, and the overwhelming reality of death. How did they cope? And what can their struggle teach us about finding meaning in our own lives? This is the story of psychological survival, a journey that begins not with a spear, but with a thought. Imagine being one of the first humans. The world is a terrifying place. Every shadow could hide a threat. Every storm could be the end. This constant state of alert, this fear, is exhausting. To simply endure it, the human mind had to evolve. It had to find ways to manage the unmanageable. It had to create meaning where there was none. This is where we see the first whispers of what makes us truly human. Consider the earliest burial sites. Why would our ancestors go to the trouble of burying their dead, sometimes with tools or ornaments? Physically, it served little purpose. But psychologically, it was revolutionary. It was an act of defiance against the finality of death. It suggested a belief in something more, a continuation, a journey beyond the physical body. These rituals weren't just random actions. They were the brain's way of creating order out of chaos, of giving a narrative to the terrifying emptiness of loss. They were the first steps in building a symbolic world, a world where our actions have meaning beyond mere survival. These symbolic behaviors grew more complex over time. Think about it. Sitting around a fire wasn't just for warmth. It was a ritual. It was a time for storytelling, for sharing experiences, for strengthening social bonds. In that circle of light, surrounded by darkness, a community wasn't just surviving the night. They were building a shared identity, a collective memory. The stories they told of heroic hunts, of the creation of the world, of mischievous spirits, were not just entertainment. They were psychological tools. They provided explanations for the unexplainable, offered moral guidance, and gave each person a role to play in a grander cosmic drama. This is the birth of culture, born from the need to manage our deepest anxieties. And then there's art. For tens of thousands of years, humans have felt compelled to draw, to sculpt, to create. Those incredible paintings deep within caves in France and Spain, what were they for? Were they hunting magic, records of past events, or shamanic visions? We may never know for sure, but what is clear is that they were not about physical survival. No one was eating a painting of a bison. This was about something else entirely. It was about capturing the essence of the world, about expressing the inner landscape of the mind. Creating art is a profound act of emotional resilience. It takes the chaos of our feelings, our fears, our all, and gives it form. It allows us to process experiences and communicate them to others in a way that words cannot. When an early artist painted a herd of mammoths on a cave wall, they were doing more than just depicting animals. They were mastering their world, not with a spear, but with ochre and charcoal. They were asserting their presence, saying, "I was here. I saw this. I felt this." This act of creation is a powerful statement against insignificance. It's a way of carving out a space for meaning in a universe that can often feel indifferent. Belief systems, from the earliest animistic traditions to the complex religions of today, serve a similar function. They provide a framework for understanding our place in the universe. They answer the big questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? What happens when we die? A belief in gods, spirits, or a cosmic order can be an incredible source of comfort and strength. It transforms a random, chaotic world into a purposeful one. It suggests that our suffering is not meaningless, that there is a larger plan at play. This gives people the resilience to endure incredible hardship, to face death not with utter terror, but with a sense of acceptance or even hope for what lies beyond. This journey from raw fear to complex belief systems shows us that survival is a two-part story. There's the survival of the body, and there's the survival of meaning. And in many ways, the second is even more crucial. We've all heard stories of people who survived horrific circumstances, and so often what kept them going wasn't just physical endurance, but a powerful reason to live. The thought of reuniting with a loved one, a deep-seated faith, or an unwavering commitment to a cause. Without that why, the how of survival becomes almost impossible. The human spirit needs a reason. This legacy of psychological survival is all around us today. We may not be painting bison on cave walls, but we still create art, listen to music, and tell stories to make sense of our world. We still perform rituals, from birthday parties to graduation ceremonies, to mark the passage of time and give it meaning. We still build communities and share beliefs to combat loneliness and find our place. We are constantly engaged in the act of creating meaning. So when you feel overwhelmed by the uncertainty of life, remember this ancient lineage. You are descended from a long line of psychological survivors. The tools they developed, ritual, art, belief, and community, are your inheritance. The ability to find meaning in the face of chaos is not a modern invention. It is the fundamental human survival skill. It is how we have always endured. It is how we have turned the terror of the unknown into a canvas for the beautiful, complex, and meaningful story of humanity. Survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about making life worth living. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the mind. If this sparked something in you, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into what makes us human. See you next time.